Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode from the Krebs Coho channel. Today we are going to be doing a showcase of the Europe in Ruins mod of Company of Heroes, from Company of Heroes. As you guys can see, this metally, rusty, bloody helmet right in front of you, that is Europe in Ruins. So this is the launcher made by professional modders, you could say. Very professionally made, should I say to that. Just because, well, these modders spend a lot of time. Now, this is the Europe in Ruins mod for Company of Heroes, as I keep on stressing. What we're going to be doing today is showcasing what is like, because I've been getting a lot of requests in just from people telling me, you know, there's a lot of mods out for Company of Heroes. Let's see what they're about. Can you do some replays? Why not? Here I am doing it. You guys asked for it, and here you guys get it on a silver platter. Now, I'm actually accompanied by a member, a community liaison, should I say, from the Europe in Ruins mod community, who's actually going to be assisting us in doing this cast today and showing us about. His name goes by the name of Groundfire, so welcome Groundfire to the show.
Hey Krebs, glad to be here.
Okay, we've had a lot of technical difficulties doing this cast, but hopefully it's going to be alright, fingers crossed, and we'll be getting onto it. Now, this is the launcher, as I was saying, very professionally made. Now, as you guys can see, you've got a login screen, and so we'll just log in. So that is my name right there, Krebs Coho. Obviously, you guys don't know what my password is, and I'm not going to tell you, whoever might be trying to guess what it is. Now, we've also got a profile selection screen right after logging in. Now, this is slightly different from VCO in that, look, as you guys can see, there's my name, faction, Wehrmacht, Doctrine, Defensive. Now, obviously, that's a slight bit of change from the VCO profile selection, and so I'll actually let it go over to Groundfire, who's actually going to explain the differences between VCO and the Europe in Ruins mod. So on you go, Groundfire. Tell us the difference between the profiles.
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to just basically do a quick rundown of what Europe in Ruins is. When you think about Company of Heroes, you go into a game and you have you build your army. It's basically like you start on a clean slate every time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything's new. What you gain in game stays in that game, and then when you're all done, it's done. Basically what we did is we took VCO, and then all the little nifty trinkets that you get from a VCO game, we've extended it out, and the launcher contains all that extra stuff. We're talking about veterancy, we're talking about doctrines right here, like any kind of resource buffs that you would get during a Company of Heroes game. It all translates into this launcher, and it stays with you with a persistent army throughout the entire war. All right, so what we're the idea is that all the units that you use in a Company of Heroes game, they come back to you, get to buy them, and they come with you and they stay in this launcher, and then you use that army in all the Company of Heroes games that you want. Mm-hmm. And so the units, they stay with you. If they die in a game, they die completely. Any experience that they gain throughout the multitude of games that you played is completely gone. You'll never see it again. You have to train a new soldier to replace it, and that's what we're trying to go for, is a persistent Company of Heroes environment. We're trying to completely get rid of the fire and forget mentality of a normal Company of Heroes game.
Well, right, exactly. That's a lot different from what we're used to over in VCO. Now, that's a whole bunch of words right now, and a lot of you might not actually know what that means, but I think what we're going to be doing is showing you guys what it actually means. Now, right from the get-go, when we're actually making a profile, so imagine, if you will, there's a clean slate. You just joined Europe in Ruins, and you want to start a new account. So what you do is just you make a new account. There's a plus sign on the side. You just make a new account, type in your name, choose your faction. Now, that is the first difference between VCO and Europe in Ruins, is that you actually choose your faction beforehand. Obviously, you choose it beforehand before a game in VCO, but this time your account is actually associated with that faction. Sort of like Company of Heroes Online, if you guys ever played Coho, right? Now, you also select your doctrine, again, like Coho, Defensive. That is me. I'm just a fanboy for Defensive. And my rank apparently is General Lieutenant. I've only played like 1 or 2 games, so apparently I'm ranking up really fast. So, am I okay to head on over to the other main screen, and then we can talk about the other stuff, Groundfire?
Oh, sure, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I'm entering the battle, or just going on to the next tab. So, retrieving company, updating news, whatever. It's just doing its own work, and there we go. Look how professional this is, guys. This is absolutely stupendous that people can make something as cool as this. Really, there's been a lot of effort that has gone into it. I mean, this took years of effort, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think we've been going for about a year, no, 2 years with this current iteration with the launcher and everything like as an external application. Before, if you played Europe and Ruins back, like, oh man, when before opposing fronts came out, we were like website based,
Yeah.
and it was just all text, and it was really like that was a real entry barrier for people to get in.
All right.
But now, as we progressed, everything looks more professional now, and we're trying to make those entry barriers as little as possible so we get as many people playing as we can.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what you need, a easier user interface if that's what to draw people into the game, right?
Mhm.
Now, when we're talking about mods, what two mods really stand out in my head? As I was mentioning, there's quite a lot of mods for a Company of Heroes. What two mods really stands out in my head is Europe in Ruins and probably Blitzkrieg. Right, so these are definitely the most popular mods out there right now. Obviously, there's been other showcases for different ones, but we're focused on Europe and Ruins this time around, right? So now let's actually get around to showing you guys what this is all about. So here you got the latest news. Some patch was released, some, I don't know, 2 months ago. But then again, that seems a little bit outdated because when I actually started up my launcher today, it was updating. So I mean, maps are being released all the time. You know, you've got updates being produced all the time. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, we try and update as much as we can, as many times as possible. We got like a little updates that usually they contain maps or like a little hotfix or something like that, and then the big stuff goes into the news tab.
Okay, so there you go. So the big stuff goes into the news tab, but obviously you got all these little smaller updates that are going on. Now, if I was a new player just joining Europe in Ruins, what I would actually do is want to play the game as soon as possible. Now, before we could actually just jump into a game, I know there's a whole bunch of tabs here. We'll get to them in just a second. Well, if I was going to start a game, what I would be keen on doing first is actually selecting my company and my doctrine. So let's actually go on over to the company tab first. And here we go. This is where we're going to be selecting our armies. So I'd actually like you, Groundfire, to explain just how different the battle mechanics are. Like, how do you actually get guys onto the field?
Okay, so right now I'm in the company tab right now, and I have my defensive company chosen as well, just so we can keep things synchronized. But you can see right here in the unit roster tab, you have all the units that are currently available to the Wehrmacht army. Right now, like company Europe in Ruins, it functions off a complete T4 gameplay basis, which means if you want to buy a Panther, you don't have to wait till you build like a tank depot in order to get a Panther. You can just have a Panther in your army and you can call it on whenever. Like that's the cool thing about it.
Oh, who
And
needs
then
patience?
yeah, who needs patience? Just go straight for the blowing stuff up. That's what we're aiming for. But you can pretty much just you can pick whatever unit you want, and then you can drag it down to these little boxes. If you'll do that for me, Kreb, just like pick a unit, drag it down to a box.
Okay, so well, I've actually got quite a few boxes
Okay.
selected, but what I'm actually gonna do, because you got different tabs on the left-hand side where you've got other selections, empty boxes. So, let's say I'm gonna drag a pioneer down into one of these empty boxes. There we go. Now, each pioneer actually costs manpower, munitions, fuel. Obviously, the pioneers don't actually cost munitions and fuel, but other units do, right?
Right. Each unit has a cost, and every player has a certain resource allocation that they can use to make their army with. So everyone, when they start a new company, they start with the same amount of resources. And eventually, as you progress your company, you'll get more resources in one area. You might get more munitions. You might get more fuel. That's the idea. You get to customize your company the way you see fit. Uh, so that's what you do. These little boxes right here, if you have the units in them, those are called your call-ins. Those translate to little buttons in the UI at the bottom right-hand corner of the Company Heroes game. You call in these call-ins, and whatever's in that box is what you get to use on the field at any one particular time. There's more to that, and we'll obviously see that when we get into the game. But it's basically like a big puzzle. You get to pick and choose your units in relation to what your enemy has chosen as well, so you can try and counter them. Or you can try and go for a weird strategy. Like one of my favorites is like I use 4 or 5 flame pioneers, and that really devastates any kind of elite infantry that the allies would bring out. But it's completely up to you. If you want to go AT heavy, you go AT heavy. If you want to bring a King Tiger on as your first unit of the game, you can do that, provided you have the proper doctrine unlocks.
That's really interesting. Basically, what I was doing last week. Okay, so I was actually meant to do this cast last week, but some difficulties went into it. But I actually got to experience a few games against Groundfire. Obviously, he steamrolled me, but what can you expect from somebody who's new in the game, right? So basically, what he was saying was it's sort of like a puzzle, a jigsaw, and I totally agree with that point because you are really sort of defining what you're going to be bringing out into the field from these groups. So as you guys can see, there's these boxes, these big boxes where I've been dragging units into, and these are sort of our call-ins, okay? So each of these big boxes is going to refer to a call-in, which is going to call in these units that I have selected. Now, these units obviously cost different amounts of manpower, munitions, fuel, and you have a base that you start off with, I think something like 9,000 manpower or something, right? Or 4,000, I can't even remember. Something like that.
It's somewhere around there.
Yeah, somewhere around there. And so basically every unit that you drag into the boxes deducts from that amount until eventually, you reach your maximum that you can actually call out. And these also account to the battalion supplies and stuff like that. Yada, yada, yada. It's really a bit complicated to describe right now, but trust me, once you actually do it for yourself, it's really just basic stuff. It's deducting numbers from here and there and just trying to bring out a balanced army. So really, as soon as you have your first, second, third game, and just so on and so forth, you're going to be mixing up your call-ins all the time. You're going to be just coming out with a whole bunch of different strategies in your head. It's not just one strategy for, say, if you're playing Vico, it's not like, oh, I'm going to go for a T2 Krieg Barracks and then jump on up to a T4, something like that. No, it's completely different here. You're actually coming up with a whole multitude of different arrays of call-ins, just a huge different amount, and you can just come up with any strategy in the book that's not even written in the book right now. I mean, you can literally make up your strategy if you so choose to. Now, that pretty much describes all the units. All these units also have upgrades associated with them. So if I click on a Naval Werfer, for example, you can see that he has a medical kit that obviously costs munitions. And these are all specific to every unit. I mean, they all have different ones, such as the nice crossholders having Panzerfausts and assault grenades, and they all deduct from munitions and so on and so forth. So really, you just make your own army as you see fit. Now, I think that pretty much explains everything in the company tab. So how to make your army. Now, if you switch on over to the Doctrine tab at the top, here we go, and this is where you select your abilities. Now, I haven't actually done a whole lot here. I know that each company or doctrine has their own unique abilities, so I've already selected a few. So I've selected entrenching equipment and fatherland fortifications. It goes by a tier sort of system. As you guys can see, you buy one upgrade and then it goes on to the next one, so on and so forth. So I think that pretty much summarizes it. Is there anything else that you want to mention in the doctrine or company tab?
No, you pretty much nailed it on the head. We took the doctrine system of normal company heroes and we extended it to the launcher, and all units gain these unique buffs as you progress throughout the war. As opposed to, having everything reset at the end of the game. You get to keep and you get to specialize your army as you see fit with these certain buffs.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I actually like. It's a sort of a persistent game. If you guys miss Company of Heroes Online, or if you ever wanted to try it, or if you just want to try Company of Heroes with a sort of different formula, or maybe a formula you've been coming up with in your head, you want to have these call-ins and just play it a bit differently than what the current Vico is, then this is definitely something that you might want to try out. Just taking a look at all these different abilities. Oh my gosh, there's so many different abilities that I have not even achieved yet, that I'm not even used to in seeing in Defensive Doctrine. It's just absolutely cool to be seeing this, right? So what we're going to be doing next, actually, there's a few other tabs I should probably show. We hit on the war map in the last cast, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We touched on it, but this is what we currently have in the works right now. This is what we're focusing all our main energy on. I don't know if you have the war map.
Yeah, I've got it up.
But this is the overworld. This is what the whole mod is about. Your army, it's going to be somewhere on this war map, and you're going to use it on the war map, and what happens in a Company of Heroes game translates to the war map. What you do on the war map translates to your company. What this does is that it's going to decide what kind of game mode that you're playing, how many resources you have available at any one time, what kind of units you can use. You might get a special unit thrown in your way that you've never seen before. We got a bunch of custom models ready to go just for this. And this is how the war is decided. Who wins, who loses. You basically, push all the way to Berlin or get pushed into the sea. That's the idea we're going for.
Change history, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just do what you want, right? So that's the war map that's currently being worked on, okay? So it's being worked on, under construction, right? So it's not actually totally out right now, but it doesn't mean you can't play Europe in Ruins. Of course you can. It's just something that's a feature that's being worked on at the moment. The other tabs I think are quite pointless. I'm not exactly sure what they are because I haven't really taken a look. What's the advantages tab?
Well, the advantages. Yeah, this is the part of your resource specialization where as you progress your company as it ranks up. I mean, we stated before that your first you said you were a general or something like that. That's just
Yeah.
the rank that we decided to start people at because they have the most access to the troops. But as you rank up, you get to use your prestige point allocation to give yourself a couple a couple hundred more manpower or a couple hundred more munitions or fuel, and that way you can specialize. Like if I had just 100 more fuel, I could get like a third Panther. That's and then you work up to that as you customize your army and you specialize in fuel. You can get more tanks. It's just another customization tool.
Right, I see that because I'm clicking the checkboxes right now. I didn't actually know that, but apparently you can do that. So there you guys go. You can customize yourself even further. Now, the other tabs, profile, I'm pretty sure that's self-explanatory, just your own stats and stuff like that. Intelligence, what's that?
The intelligence, it's basically the scoreboard that you would normally find at the end of a Company Heroes game. Basically, how many it shows who played the game, what game was played, what game mode was played, what map they played, how many units were lost, and how many units you killed, who gained the most territory over time. It's basically a way to track all the previous games that have been played, and it's a big scoreboard. It's what we use to basically record everything and make sure that your company's up to date.
Very nice.
It's going to tie into the war map later on as well.
Very nice, very nice. See, so they've really come up with a very professionally made mod. This is not some sort of buggy thing that's going to crash on you all the time or you can't play. It's a fully functioning game and a lot of people are playing it. So let's head on over to the top right tab, which is the battle tab, and here you go, there's a bit of a community. Now, admittedly, only 15 players online. Doesn't really compare to the 5,000 plus or something on Company of Heroes right now. But then again, what European Ruins is trying to do at the moment is some sort of promoting. And now, what this could actually mean is, don't be scared about this, the low number right now. There are a lot of veterans that can teach you how to play, but also through this video, no doubt there's going to be a lot of new people that are going to be trying to try Europe and Ruins at the moment. So basically, it might be a good idea to head on over to Europe and Ruins because there might be a whole bunch of new people trying it out, and maybe you'll be playing against them, so you're all at the equal same skill level, right?
Oh,
so, yeah, exactly. There you go. Now, the nice thing about Europe and Ruins is that you have a lot of modified, custom-made maps. You got a whole plethora of different ones from VCO. Something interesting to take note of. Now, there's not really much to tell about the battle thing right now, because what we're going to actually be doing, rather than doing a battle against each other and me getting steamrolled, is that we're actually going to be doing a replay that Groundfire has provided us. And so we're actually going to head on over to that in just a second. So should we go do that?
Oh, sure, let's do it. Let's see, you want to talk about anything else?
Well, let's do that. We'll show you guys what the actual gameplay is like. So, in just a second, let's head on over to that. Okay, guys, now we're on to a actual replay of Europe in Ruins. Now, this is going to be on a custom map. Actually, it's called Dutch Countryside, a total custom map, as I was saying just a little bit earlier. There's a lot of custom-made maps for this game. There's really just a whole vast sea of custom maps, and they're constantly releasing new ones as well. So this is actually going to be a 3v3 that we're looking at today, so lots and lots of players. Now, it's actually also going to be featuring Groundfire, who provided this replay, and he's going to be giving us the general analysis of this, because I really have no idea of what to really analyze, because he's got a lot more experience in this mod than I do. One thing I noticed right from the get-go is that you have not infinite zoom, but really it's a whole lot better than the one in Company of Heroes. This one you can zoom out a whole lot further, so that's a really cool feature. Groundfire, are we okay to get started?
Sure, I'm ready to go when you are.
Okay, we're at the 5-second mark, and we're going to be starting in 3 seconds. So in 3, 2, 1, and go. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And on we go to another matchup in the Europe in Ruins battlefield. Now, what we're going to be taking a quick look at is, well, there's actually a whole bunch of differences that well, you'll know straight from the get-go. I mean, for example, there's no bases. Normally, I would be introducing people at their bases, but really there are no bases in this mod. So that's a very, very big difference from the normal company of heroes. No bases at all. What you're actually doing is using those call-ins that I was talking about a little bit earlier in the company tab. So whatever you made up in that company tab is what you're actually calling out onto the field. Now there's also resource points that are completely different. There are no fuel points, there are no munition points, there's only manpower points, and these act as sort of territories that you capture which increase your population cap. So forget about the munitions and fuel. As you guys can see, there is zero income for those. All you're doing is trying to capture territory, and your tanks don't actually do that. As your men, as they are walking through it, they are capturing it. So you're not actually having to focus on points and capturing them. You're just walking through them and focusing right on the action. Am I correct in everything that I've said up to that point?
Oh yeah, that's a perfect analysis. The whole idea is that like instead of focusing on build orders and which sector I'm going to cap first, you get to focus all on your micro, right? And the idea is to out attrition your enemy with better micro. Make sure you guys are all in cover. Make sure you got the right units countering the right units. Yeah, it's really micro intensive.
So exactly, you're fighting for the battlefield rather than points. So basically the difference is in VCO, for example, you'd be fighting for strategic points and trying to hold those sectors so that you can eventually beat your opponent into submission by having more resources and more units out onto the field and just countering them in general like that. They always talk about the key strategy of having those strategic points. But here it's totally different because you're trying to actually hold key locations. So for example, you were talking about just before this replay started, you were talking about actually holding the center where the three houses are?
Yeah, the three houses in the town center make for a great defensive strong point, and you could see if just from the get-go we had people going for the center, jockeying for position, trying to get the machine gun into the building, and having to try and dig someone out of that city center is just really tough. Yeah.
Those houses are really important, aren't they?
Uh-huh.
So basically what a lot of people are doing right now is that they're calling out their units onto the field. Everyone has a different sort of strategy. I mean, what we saw so far was we saw a bunch of riflemen, some tanks even. You were saying how this game is based on T4, and we had Shermans right out straight away just off the bat. Sherman's coming out. I think we maybe have a Panther. Yes, we actually have a Panther out as well. So there's a whole bunch of different units. Now, what I actually see on the field, and some people might actually notice this, is that there's actually an American officer, which is completely different. We aren't used to that. So what is the American officer?
The American officer is a T2 Doctrine unlock for an infantry company player. This happens to be my own U.S. officer. So he kind of functions like a lieutenant for the British Army, but he has like a little nifty off map where you can drop smoke down, and that way you can give your troops cover as they run forward. And right now I'm pairing him up with a couple of bar squads because he also gives receive accuracy modifiers and makes my riflemen a little bit more accurate themselves. So he's definitely an awesome support unit.
Now,
and you unlock him as you go, as your company progresses throughout the game.
Okay, fair enough. So he's like a lieutenant. We all understand that concept of how the British work. Mm-hmm. So is there actually any veterancy at all in this game?
You can see the veterancy right now. Let's try and find a unit that does have vet. If you take a look at that M10 at the top left corner, he has a single star over him. That M10 has veterancy 1, and as they progress through the veterancy levels, you get either 1 star, 2 stars, or 3 stars, or if for Wehrmacht, it's Iron Crosses. So if you look at that tiger at the bottom right hand corner, he has a single cross above his health bar. That tiger is veterancy level 1.
Okay, so there are veterancies. So how do they earn veterancy? Just by killing guys?
Just by killing other units, and it functions the same way as normal VCO. The more units you kill, the more veterancy you get in the game. The only thing is, though, once you call that unit off, if you retreat it off map, if you get it off, if it survives the game somehow, then that unit retains its veterancy to use in another game. So eventually, at some point, if you're good enough, you can get a whole Vet 3 army, but that's really difficult to do.
All right. So, how much does this vet actually help?
The veterancy, it's kind of toned down from what you would normally get in normal VCO, but it's enough to where it would give you a decisive advantage in a fight.
Okay, so fair enough. So veterancy does help. You were saying obviously about the persistency and how you can retreat your guys and eventually have a Vet 3 army. Totally possible, but then again, very difficult to actually do. I actually like that persistence, right? Just making your own army and working towards something. So if you actually lose a unit, you totally lose him. You could have a veterancy 3 tank, for example. If you lose him, it's gone forever, right?
It's gone forever. You have to buy a new one and retrain him.
Oh, geez, wow. So, exactly, it's definitely having a more sense of keeping your units alive. Now, admittedly, a lot of these guys have been losing quite a bit of their units, but it seems like they're only Vet 0 units that are losing, so maybe it's not a huge loss, I assume, anyway. It looks like the Wehrmacht are actually holding the center, and the Americans are being pushed off a little bit. I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work. I mean, how are the Americans going to take on a hefty, a very hefty Tiger, should I say? 10 infantry kills. Wow.
We know that there's a Tiger on the field. So to bring in a proper counter, we'd have people calling anti-infantry or no, anti-tank guns, probably multiple anti-tank guns or M10s, tank hunters, something like that. And we would try. That's like a key unit to destroy because Tigers are so expensive. You can basically only get 2 of them in any particular company. Now, so once it's gone, it's really big detriment to that player's army if they lost it.
Because it costs a whole bunch of resources to actually select that as one of your columns, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a big loss for them. So, it is really a difficult thing because I remember when we were playing that those 1 or 2 matchups against each other. What was one of the hard things for me was actually knowing what you'd bring onto the field, and that's one of the great things about European Ruins. You really have no idea what people are going to select because it's just like you said, a puzzle, a jigsaw, just trying to make your own army and customize it as you see fit. And so everyone's basically going to have a different sort of selection. Maybe there's some sort of strategies out for European Ruins. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe you could tell me a little bit more about that, but I'm not exactly sure right now at this point. Everyone customizes their own armies, and so you really have no idea what to expect. And as I was my point that I was trying to make was basically I would call on, say if you called on a Pershing, and I would bring on a few anti-tank guns, and basically they were killed or something like that. And then I had nothing else to call it in. Then what happens then? Say if I have no more anti-tank guns to take on your Pershing, what happens then?
Well, usually at that point you'd have to rely on your partners, your teammates in the game to cover the area that you're deficient in. But most of the time, if you get a particular aspect of your company exhausted, the enemy can just exploit that gap and really just put your army into the hole. I mean, it's if you lose all your AT guns, basically the enemy can use all the tanks they want, and they could just steamroll the rest of your company with it.
That's absolutely great, yeah. I know because we were doing 1v1 and I just lost all my AT guns, for example, and that was it. I just had nothing else to counter your stuff. So really you are trying to depend on your teammates as well in these team games, and also just by having a diverse amount of units. I mean, you need your AT guns, you need anti-tank, you need anti-infantry, and stuff to actually handle everything that could be possibly countered, brought onto the field. So what I noticed was in one of our games was that say if I had a few units out on the field and you brought a Sherman or I don't know, some sort of tank out and I had nothing to counter it, what I actually have to do is retreat my guys and actually bring on something to counter it. Because as you guys can see, these columns, they actually count towards your population. Just in VCO, as it normally does, they count towards your population. So what you have to do is actually retreat them off the map or just lose them entirely. Obviously, if you lose them, then, well, you don't get your veterancy. So if you retreat them, you free up some pop cap, and then you can call out one of your columns that are more efficient towards actually taking on that tank, as we keep on using my example here. Now, we've actually got a whole bunch of losses coming down. Is there any other aspects that we should focus on in European Ruins, or does that really nail it, just very simply?
For the right now, yeah. Considering right now we're just basically just jockeying for position on the map. Right now, you can see at the top the tank hunters are trying to hunt down that tiger. This is exactly what we were talking about. Calling off troops, making sure you have the proper counters, and just trying to whittle down the enemy. Right, the tiger just went down from what I saw, and that's because that M18 from Volksnader, he brought that on specifically to counter that tiger, and he went after it.
Yeah, exactly. So he done a really good job of doing that as well. I mean, that tiger was Vet 1. Is it hard to actually get Vet 1?
It's not hard to get Vet 1. It's really hard to get Vet 2 and Vet 3 on units like Tigers, because we're talking like 500 experience points per Vet 3 Tiger at the minimum. And chipping away at riflemen, that gets you like maybe 5-6 experience points per time you do that. So it takes a while. It takes a couple games to get a unit that experienced.
Okay, so what I actually saw there was the guys were falling back. So basically, that one M10 had veterancy too. So do you? I think he actually got destroyed there by an AT gun or something. I think. So he got destroyed. So do you think in that position, just after destroying a tiger like that, do you think it would be a good idea to actually, I don't know, retreat back your tanks off the map?
It depends on how strong the unit still is. How much health it has left. If it was like really weak, I would retreat it off map. Unless it had a repair kit, then I would try and repair it a little bit, and then try and get a few more kills off of it before I removed it from the field.
Alright, okay, so there's this whole idea of what to actually do, but then again, you don't really know what to expect is going to come out onto the field. I mean, look at this, we've got this sort of, I don't know, modified half-track over here for the Americans with some sort of AT gun on it. So everyone just has a whole bunch of different units out. What is that actually thing in the top of the screen where the victory points are? It's like plus 0.39, plus 0.57.
That is the population counter. It acts kind of like the victory point counter. Right now, those numbers up top, it correlates to the amount of territory that you hold. Right now, the Allies are lacking in territory, so they are gaining 0.39 of one population cap per minute. And the Axis, they hold more of the field, so they're getting 0.61 population per minute. Right. And right now, I don't know if you're looking at the Axis or not, but the Allies, they have a total of 29 population to call units with.
All right, so if I'm getting this right, you actually increase population over time?
Yeah, over time.
Right, okay.
It gets up to a max limit of 40 in most cases before the numbers start to detract, and then one side starts losing population instead of gaining it.
Right, okay, so that makes a lot more sense. I wish I knew that in our games against each other. I'm glad I know that now. But let's actually focus on the game at hand, because I think people actually get the gist of what's going on. I mean, no bases, you're fighting for territories rather than strategic points. Population is critical into how much you can call out onto the field. Also trying to guesstimate what the opponent is going to bring onto the field. I suppose that's the general gist of what's going on. So let's actually focus on the gameplay at hand. So Axis 4 days and all these people, do you actually know them personally, or were they just people in the battlefield or the lobby?
That's mostly just people in the battle lobby. I know a couple of them, personal friends. Like Eagle Renewed is one of my friends, and we're just having a friendly game together.
Okay, so friendly game, very friendly against each other.
Yeah.
But
well, no, he's on my team. He's on my team.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. So there you go. So basically, I don't even know what the strategies are at hand. What are the general strategies for you guys, for example?
Well, mostly it's just to take out key units from the enemy side. Right now, we're really being hampered by the amount of indirect fire that the Axis have. So if you take a look at the top left-hand corner, Eagle Renewed is trying to get a flank going on. He's skirting the edge of the map. Right now, he's being spotted by a Volksgrenadier squad in the building, but he wants to try and get around, get that mortar that the enemy, the Axis for days have, and Hero Click has a Noble Warfare that's been a thorn in our side. So we're trying to get those key units before we actually go and try and take out the Knights Crossholders or any of the tanks that they have left.
So you're trying to flank them, so you're trying to take out the key things first. So, I don't know, I'm looking at this flank on the right-hand side. You've got some riflemen heading on up there. So why isn't the rifleman trying to focus down that Nebelwerfer whilst an AT gun is focusing on the Panther? Oh, mine going off, I think?
Yep, there's a mine. The Panther just ran over a mine and has damaged engine now. That Panther is... It's in some trouble unless it can kill the AT gun, which it just did.
No, it just retreated. Well, the AT gun actually retreated, so that's actually pretty cool. So the AT gun doesn't actually have to die. The guys can retreat. That makes a whole lot more sense than a guy committing suicide in VCO. You know, that third guy he just commits suicide. Such a sad story, isn't it? So it's pretty cool that he can actually just retreat by himself. You know, fight another day. Why not? So it looks like that flank actually failed for the Americans. I don't know. Maybe you guys are going to go in for another one. The Wehrmacht could maybe use an MG, or I don't know, something to support that Nebelwerfer. They've got a few guys over there, so I don't imagine the Americans are going to go into that just rushing in head first. Oh, and there's an MG, and a whole bunch of flanks coming in from the Americans.
Yep, we're pretty much bringing down the hammer right now.
That looks like it's going to be absolutely horrible. It looks like it's ripping a hole into that mortar. The mortar's just trying to run away from there. Now, howitzer coming down right on top of the Nebelwerfer. Oh my gosh, that looks like it's being perfectly executed. How are the Axis going to respond to this?
They have to bring on their particular columns that would counteract a lot of infantry pushes.
But that's going to take a while to
yeah.
do, isn't it? I mean, they have to retreat their guys. I mean, well, they've actually lost a few guys, so maybe they just have to call it onto the field. But, I mean, they still have to travel that full distance back onto the center, right? So it's going to take a while to get onto the field. There we go. We've got some Panzerschrecks and also a heavy machine gun coming out onto the field. And also the Panthers actually retreating off map, I believe.
It's trying to get to the spawn point so it can properly heal. If you when you okay, let's take a second to talk about how healing works in this game. Right now, infantry heal, they heal as normal. You got a med kit or you got a triage center, that's okay. But for tanks though, since tanks are really expensive and they're basically a great force multiplier, considering that they can't be killed by most things. You can't repair them as often as you would like. We don't have a repair system based on pioneers and engineers in Europe and Ruins. Instead, each tank can buy a repair kit, and when they use that repair kit, the tank goes inactive. The crew is trying to fix up the tank, and it isn't capable of moving or firing while this repair kit is active. Basically, it's a balance mechanic that we try and use to just balance vehicles a little bit. But so that's what that Panther's trying to do in the backfield. You can see right now it has a little repair wrench icon over its head. That thing is useless until it gets done, and then it can re-enter the fight. But right now it's a sitting duck. It's taking up population, but it's basically it's a drawback for getting your tank healed.
I mean, Axie's 4 days, the guy that actually owns the tank, he probably doesn't have that much on the field right now, does he? So actually, let's switch on over to him. Maybe we can see. He's got 29 out of 33. Of that, how much does a Panther cost population-wise?
I think the Panther is like 15 population. It's quite a chunk. It's probably about half of what he has on the field right now.
Yeah, and he's not actually doing anything with that Panther. I mean, look at it, it's just sitting there. And the repair rate is so damn slow as well.
Yep. Well, it allows the allies to take advantage of the field by having the enemy being down in pop cap. Since that tank's useless, right now he has a diminished amount of forces that he can use to actually keep up the fight. And right now we're just trying to take advantage of that.
It looks like he's actually got a few guys on the field. He's got the Grenadiers. He's also got the Stormtroopers, the Panzerschrecks right there. The Americans are taking a little bit of a pounding here. I mean, they're being pushed back, especially by that Panzer IV. I think that's taking out a few chunks. But AT gun right on the back there, just pounding away at it slowly, bit by bit. It looks like that's going to have to get repaired as well, I suppose.
Yep.
Oh, gosh. So
he left it in the fire too long, so he's got to retreat that. But I think the AT gun's going to get him.
Oh, you think so? Well, I mean, the AT gun's definitely going very fast. It's moving at a very fast pace. And there we go. Take it out right from the back armor. So that is not a good day for that Panzer IV. I'd still like to see this Panther. Hurry up, come on. It's just about finished its repairs. It's actually just finished. And it's just probably going to be coming back out on the field. Maybe that's what the Wehrmacht need right now. I'm not exactly sure. The Wehrmacht, well, I don't know. Panthers aren't great against infantry, so I'm not exactly sure on that front. I mean, in terms of the Panther being useful, it's more so against tanks, isn't it, right?
Right. The way we balanced Europe and Ruins units, we balanced it based off of VCO statistics. So a Panther is only really good against tanks like it is in VCO. The same balance mechanics are still in place. Like if you have a rifle squad versus Volk squad, the rifle squad still wins at close range. The Volk squad wins at long range, and it depends on cover. We tried to keep all those mechanics intact, just so that when people do come over from VCO, they have a good idea what's going on, what beats what, and they don't have too many surprises thrown their way.
Well, exactly. So it's nice and user-friendly, right? So
yeah.
The Panthers just finally coming back onto the field, but what is it going to do? I have absolutely no idea. I mean, the only tank we can see is an M8. That's it. That's all he's going to be able to do. I honestly don't have no clue. Let's probably actually see what he's going to do, but honestly, I have no high expectations. Maybe he'll kill a rifleman squad here and there, but that's all I could imagine, really.
Well, right now the Panther is pretty decent at sniping infantry. It has 13 infantry kills. That's decent. That's like 2 rifle squads total in which it killed. But this is what we're talking about. Right now there are no tanks on the field, but you can't really just retreat a Panther like that. That's a significant part of your army. So you have to keep it. You have to use it to the best of your ability. Hopefully there's the allies bring out a tank for it to actually hard counter, but right now we're playing our cards right, and we're denying that Panther any targets for it to kill. and we're just using
Right.
primarily infantry.
So what are you guys thinking at the moment? Like, what's your main goal?
Our main goal right now is just to clear out the city center. Right now, we're doing that pretty well. We just forced them out, and it seems that Magna Circular is doing an infantry push on the left side. We're going to go ahead and try and counter him. You can see my rifleman. We're kind of moving back. I'm trying to intercept him so he doesn't get too close to that M8.
Yeah. Okay, so he's actually trying to move in with some MP44s, Veers, and also Panzer Shreks. I'd like to see how successful this is going to be, but I mean, you guys are countering this with a Sherman, and there you go. I mean, just absolutely wiping them, annihilating them. There's absolutely no chance. But the Sherman is obviously going to be countered by that Panther and also that Martyr that's out on the field. Need to see how.
Provided it gets close enough. I mean, they actually have to get through and bust through our lines to try and get to the Sherman. But you know, we're protecting our units. Right now, we have an AT gun moving up and firing on the Panther.
Yep.
That Panther has to move away, otherwise it can't take an AT gun. It can't sit there too long. So it's all about covering your units using combined arms. That's a big thing in Europe runes. Big combined arms, usually balanced armies. They can beat specialized armies as long as they have the right tools at the right time.
This AT gun's doing a really good
yeah.
job. I mean, this AT gun's just chasing away everyone. He's well, not everyone, but you know, the tanks. He's doing a good job. He's got 2 light vehicle kills. He's got a single tank kill. So that's really good. It's doing a superb job on its own.
Oh, big Howie shot coming down. Those Grenadiers. Boom. There goes the
Look
squad.
at all the bodies. Oh my gosh, the carnage, absolute carnage. So I guess the Axis must be taking quite a bit of casualties here. How are they going to respond? Probably just to bring on other columns, but then again, they're limited to whatever is left, right?
Right. Well, whatever they have in their companies. So if they have some anti-infantry columns, that'd be a good thing to bring out right now. But you can tell we're starting to get the edge on them. Right now, the Allies have most of the map capped. Right now, we're getting 1.13 population per minute. And the Allies have a total population of 35 right now. So eventually, we're going to start wearing them down. We're going to start to be able to call on more infantry than they can, and basically just overwhelm them. You know,
that's pretty cool. I mean, because in VCO, you're always dependent on. I mean, population is definitely important in VCO, but rarely do you ever reach pop cap. Rarely do you ever, and only that happens when, say, you're pushed back to your base or something like that. It's more so about strategic points, but this is becoming, European ruins, in my opinion, from what I've been seeing so far, it seems to be very heavily dependent on population and who can maintain more territories and hold that population, because when you can call out more onto the field, generally means that you can have more of a pushing force, right?
Yeah,
so,
precisely. You got to think of it like a scale, and when it's completely balanced, the scale's balanced. You know, both sides are equal. They both have half the map capped. So we're just trying to push the game and build up momentum and try and to push the enemy back to their spawn point. That way we can have an easy time in beating them. They can't call out enough stuff to counter us.
It's about even,
we have
though.
more options available.
It's about even though I would. Territory-wise, the population caps or population rates are just about the same.
Right.
But I'd say the Axis are definitely losing because they're being pushed back like crazy here, charging with the stormtroopers. But a Sherman's right there, but they're not really afraid of it. Why? They're falling back, maybe.
Well, they have. You can see like Airclick just called on a new Panther, and he also has a pack gun out. But an off map's going down the pack. If you take a look right now. Let's see what's called down and who called it. There's a plane flying. Okay, that's
Oh, that was different. I thought that was gonna be like a howitzer shoot.
No, that's off map, a T2 off map for the armor company player. I believe Eagle Renewed. He used that. It puts down some smoke barrages so that his men can move up and avoid being shot at.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So there you go, guys. Just a whole bunch of different units and doctrinal columns and stuff like that to use. I just wasn't anticipating that whatsoever. I thought that was going to be like a howitzer shoot, but no, it was actually a plane. Fair enough. That's pretty cool. I mean, what we saw actually at the beginning of the game was a plane screeching right through the middle of the map. That was like a recon run for the Wehrmacht.
Precisely.
Elite,
That's the Stuka. We have a custom model from the Relic News modding community. They graciously allowed us to use it in our mod, and we use it as primarily a recon run for the Axis, or I believe the Blitzkrieg Doctrine for Wehrmacht. They can use it as a dive bomber, and you can use a precision strike to take out an AT gun or support weapon or something like that.
You guys are winning here. Oh god.
Yeah, unfortunately this is I had issues with my computer this game, but
Whoa, hey ho!
right,
I mean, you can't do anything about it. How's the AI in this game? Actually, it looks like everyone's retreating your AI. Oh gosh.
well, right, yeah, that's the default action. We don't want the computer to control your troops for you because the computer does stupid things, and we want you to save your Fed. So if they have some issues, the computer just retreats your men off field.
Well, I don't know how this game is going to turn out, but it looks like you at least put down some emplacements just before you dropped or crashed.
Yeah, that
or
wasn't planned at all. That was just the natural course of my build to cement our control over the field. Just put down some machine gun bunkers, make it a little bit difficult for the enemy to try and take more territory. But my dropping comes at the right point because we just killed one of their players, so now it's a 2-on-2 instead of a 3-on-2. Thank God for that.
Well, you guys are winning anyway. I mean, look at the income rates. How is it that the Wehrmacht have minus 0.43?
Well, right now we have more of the territory than capture than they do.
Okay.
If you take a look, if you look at the TAC map right now, you can tell why the city is so important because instead of the map being divided up into equal rectangles, the city has actually 5 rectangles or 5 territories in it. So if you control the city, you control the majority of the territories, and that way the city is such important because you get basically more territories captured. You gain more population by controlling the city because there's so many sectors there.
And you can just see, that's a perfect example of just how important the city is, because look at the outskirts, for example. There's like no craters, but in the city there's just craters everywhere, destruction, just absolutely everywhere. The buildings have collapsed, for example, and it just goes to show how important it is to actually maintain these points in the center and actually have those that advantage in terms of the population, right? So overall, I mean, if we look at Axis 4 days, he's got 39 population. I think that's still quite a bit. 39 population is still quite a bit. But if I switch over to you, for example, 38. So how is it that they're actually in the lead with population?
He might have a specific doctrine advantage that gives him a little population boost. That's one of the higher tiered abilities. That way you can. It doesn't really matter how you're doing. You'll always get a little bit more than your teammates, so you can compensate. And that's the trait of a really advanced company, being able to do little tricks like that, having more population than what you're really allotted. It's a specialization for your company, basically.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, we were taking a look at the advantages and all that specializations, and so everyone's just unique in their own way, aren't they? So. Right. Looks like some people already have their own opinions. Some guy was saying he hates Panthers spam, so I guess there's everyone has their own opinions already in Europe in Ruins, just what they do and don't like. Fair enough.
That was probably one of my teammates, and Panthers are really good. They have one of the best front armors in the game. I don't know how much you've delved into the game files, but Panthers have really good front armor. They deflect a lot of anti-tank shots. And so they're really hard to kill, and that's why if you can get a lot of them on the field at the same time, even if they don't have a good presence against infantry, that pretty much shuts down any tank response that the enemy could bring against you, and then you can focus all your efforts into countering the infantry that are left over.
All right, okay. But one thing I want to be a bit careful of, or you should be a bit careful of anyway, is just because remember the other Panther before that was quite damaged, had to go all the way back and get repaired. I mean, isn't this something that these guys should do as well?
It depends on the situation that they're in. I mean, if you feel comfortable with yourself, then you can keep your Panther on as long as you can, down to a sliver of health before it gets retreated off. You know, it's a judgment call on your part.
Yeah, it's just fair enough because I'm used to well, if you look at the Panthers, they're down to about half health, and I'm used to people at this point retreating them back, getting them repaired, and then at full health they'll bring them back onto the field. Obviously, you can't really do that because you need your Panthers there to be useful and actually kill stuff. Otherwise, you'd have to retreat back and then get repaired and be a sitting duck again. So I suppose there is a lot more risk in terms of what you do.
Right. Yeah, the instincts are so powerful. Being able to repair them is a definite risk-reward type of deal. We try to maximize that as much as possible. It is a significant amount of your armies just sitting there while it's repairing. So you have to choose when you want to repair very carefully.
So there's all these tanks coming out for, it looks like, Eagle. It's a shame you're not on the field. I mean, it'd definitely help a lot if you were actually here, but that's a shame. but we actually have a whole bunch of tanks coming out. The M18, actually, and M10, and also M4 Sherman. You really got just a whole bunch of units right here. I'm surprised that your teammates are still doing so well, even though you're not actually out on the field. I mean, usually what happens in VCO is if you lose a teammate, everything goes downhill.
Well, right now we were in the position that we actually just killed one of their teammates. So right now it is a 2-on-2, and that they don't have enough momentum to actually push back. It's still an even fight, basically.
By killing their teammates, how do you mean?
Well, obviously, like the way we discussed how company creation is made, you have a finite amount of resources to build your army with. And once you've retreated or you lose all of your army, that's it. You're eliminated from the game. So, yeah, I mean, we basically we targeted one of their players and we just hammered at him until he had nothing left to bring on and he was just gone. And if I was still in the game right now, I'd still have units left. It would basically be a 3-on-2, and then we just press our advantage and finish the game. So right now, me dying or me dropping from the game just extended their life a little bit. But as you can see, I think we got the momentum in our favor. We'll be able to easily take care of what's left over.
It looked like the pace of the game actually slowed down a little bit until all these guys came out. The Vet 3 right on a round. Wow, that's crazy. Vet 3 on all these riflemen and American officers as well. That seems really good.
Oh yeah, like this is I would say this is probably the centerpiece of Volksnader's army. He has he had a Vet 3 rifle squad, a Vet 3 officer, and there's a Marine squad right there too. If you try and zoom in on that U.S. unit with the triple chevron.
Yeah, I see that. They've also got their own skins as well.
Yep, that right there is a special reward unit. That's available to the U.S. Army. It's basically a squad of Marines. They kind of function like Grenadiers do. They have an AT option, they have an LMG option, and basically the way you get these special units, there's a ton of them, is if you do good on the war map, chances are you'll get a cool unit like this, like a squad of Marines or a special tank or something like that, and then you can use that in your army as much as you want, and no one else will have it. So it's really unique to your army to have a squad like that, a Marine squad.
I mean, they've been out on the field actually for quite a while now. The American officer retreated even though he was barely damaged. I'm not exactly sure if that was on purpose or not, but this Marine squad has actually been out for quite a while, doing quite a little bit of damage. 11 kills already on Marines. Oh wow, that's a lot of kills already.
Oh yeah, you can definitely tell like this is going to be a game-changing unit right now, considering what's left. And Airclick was just annihilated according to my screen, and yeah, pretty much the Allies have the field. It's game over.
So what is it? Do the Allies still have to be careful at all, or could the Wehrmacht make a comeback?
At this point, I would say no. They don't have a chance.
Okay, so the Wehrmacht, all he has is just a single stormtrooper. That is it, and he's also calling out a pack. But compared to what else is out in the field, I think it's quite obvious who's going to win.
Yeah, we pretty much whittle them down to the point where they have no chance to come back at all, and it would just probably be a good idea to just surrender right now. If you don't have any troops on the field for 60 seconds, you automatically surrender, and the game is awarded to the people you surrendered to, obviously.
Yeah, so it looks like the games are actually just about the same pace as VCO games, about the same time. It's not like, every match is 10 minutes or something. It seems like they're quite lengthy as well.
Yeah, right now we're this game's probably about 35-40 minutes long. That's probably the same amount of time as a normal 3v3 VCO game.
All right, and there you go. I mean, you guys outmaneuvered them. You made the most amount of kills. I know I'm seeing very generic stuff right now, but fair enough. You guys made the most amount of kills and whatever else. You guys brought out the right units when you needed them, and there you go. You've annihilated them, even though you only had only 2 players on your team.
Yep, precisely.
Halfway through the game, anyway. So, yeah, well done to you guys. I'm sure everyone knows how this is going to end. So, I think we should maybe wrap it up.
It sounds good to me. Yeah.
All right, so there you guys go. I hope you enjoyed this showcase of Europe in ruins. Hopefully it's given you a flavor of what this game is like. We've hit all the basic points of how there's no bases used, how you're fighting with different strategic points, and how population is crucial, and just how everything is sort of a little bit different from Company of Heroes, but it still totally works in its own way. It is definitely a game you guys should try out, a mod, should I say, that you guys should try out. Very easy to do. All you do is download download the mod, just edit a few things. There's a tutorial out there that can help you set it up. So I'll be linking you guys with the URL to the mod itself in the description below should you want to go check it out. I'd highly recommend it. A whole bunch of you are most likely going to be jumping on into it right now, so jump on into it right now whilst all the newbies are joining Europe in Ruins. You might as well go try it out, shouldn't you? So anything you'd like to finish off with, Groundfire?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But like, I just want to, if you guys have any questions, just come onto the forums at www.europeandruins.com. We're glad to answer any questions you guys might have about the mod, anything in depth, that you might have. We also have previous shoutcasting videos on the front page. If you guys like to watch shoutcasts, take a look at a couple of mine. I do these shoutcasts as much as I can. Not so much lately, but I try to make them as good quality, and I try and explain everything so that people that are new to the mod know what they're expecting, and it'll help them ease their transition from VCO to Europe and Ruins. To download the mod, you either go to the website, the main website, or you can check us out at ModDB. Just a simple Company Heroes search will probably bring us up along with all the other Company Heroes mods. And it's a simple download. Just update everything and follow the instructions, and you'll be in no time.
We'll also include the link to your replays as well, so people, if they're still interested, can actually go check them out, because you're doing replays and they're obviously, you're obviously very experienced at this game, so it might be a good idea if you want to become a little bit better in Europe and Ruins, then go check out Groundfire's replay casts, and he will give you a bit of, analysis, tactical analysis of how to play the game more expertly. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the cast and the showcase, and me and Groundfire will see you another time, hopefully on the Europe and Ruins battlefield. But until then, guys, we will catch you all later. Take care. Bye-bye.